It's Mary. It's July 13th, 2019, and it's about 9:30 in the morning. Several of you have asked about if I'm okay because there's a hurricane coming, and right now it's a tropical storm. And we anticipate it will become a hurricane before it hits the coast. It will probably hit Randall first, where my family has property, and then it'll hit New Orleans pretty hard and outlying areas there. And then it will maybe hit Baton Rouge. It may turn. We don't know. But Category 1 hurricanes don't scare Louisianians. So I wanted you to know that at this point, I'm okay. We're okay. We have gotten a little bit of rain. We have gotten a little bit of wind. I haven't seen any trees go down. I haven't seen any flooding today. And if we had received this amount of wind and this amount of rain last Saturday, we would have said it's a Saturday. But because there's a hurricane coming, people worry, and we anticipate this is part of that system. But it's not necessarily unusual for what we receive. So what I'm doing is I got Friday off. It became a quilt day because there was nothing to do on Friday but that. And it's a time to just stay calm. Don't anticipate problems. It may not come here at all. And to think and have a plan. So we do have a plan. And I'm expecting some power outages. If my power goes off, I'm going to my brother's house. If his power goes off, he's coming here. The other brother across the river is in a different situation, and he is welcome to join us. We may have to join him. So I'm not very concerned about our safety. However, we are making plans. If a decision is made that we need to get away from the storm, my brother or brothers and I will leave together. We will go in a direction away from the storm, and if we can drive 100 miles, we should be out of it. So I don't want you worried about my safety. Property damage is something we can't stop. We can't do anything about, and worrying about it won't help. So we will deal with any property damage after the fact. So I don't know if I will have internet or electricity to update you when the storm actually hits, if it hits here. But I wanted you to tell you that we do have a plan. I'm not concerned. I don't want you to be concerned. And that's the status at this point. This storm is unusual in a lot of ways. One is it's moving slowly. And if you remember Houston a couple of years ago when that storm hung out in the Gulf and then hung out over Houston, the damage that it caused was so severe because it was slow. It was self-feeding, and this one could become like that. It's moving very slowly, and that's always a bad thing. Second, the water in the Gulf is unusually warm this time of year, and that feeds it. The water in the Gulf is 85 degrees right now, which is awfully hot for this time of year. The good part about our weather is 2 days ago we were at 98 degrees, and we're now down in the low 80s, so that's a good thing. But the other different thing about this is the water in the river, and in Lake Pontchartrain, outside of New Orleans, or in the New Orleans metropolitan area, and the Mississippi River. We have two other very big rivers in Baton Rouge that used to be part of the Mississippi, and at some point everything in this area flows into the Mississippi. Everything above us flows into the Mississippi. Everything from Minnesota down, including snowmelt, comes into the Mississippi. And this year everybody's been sending us their water, so we have record high levels in the Mississippi. And the numbers are funny because we are significantly north of New Orleans, about 60 miles, and our river's at like 44 feet, and theirs is like at 16, and that sounds backwards, but they're below sea level, we're above it. It works out geologically and physically, I guess. So The point is, we're at very, very high, dangerously high river levels, and because of that, before a hurricane showed up, um, we were worried about flooding, and we have still not received all of the water that is coming to us from the north, and we still get rain a lot. That's always happened year round. It's something we love, and so we could flood any day absent a hurricane. They have opened all the spillways. They have opened all of the dams. I don't know what you want to call them. We home spillways, and it's a through the years, through many years, we've built these things to relieve the rivers from too much water, and those are all open and have been from before the hurricane hit. So we can't take any more water, is my point. So when the forecast says we're going to get 15 to 20 inches of rain, and 3 to 5 inches of rain would bring the river out of its banks, somebody's getting wet. And, will it be New Orleans? Quite possibly. Will it be Baton Rouge? Could be. We think we're in good shape, but maybe not. The little towns in between, from the mouth of the Mississippi at Grand all the way up to above us, the little towns have had less money, less federal funding to build bigger levees and spillways, and they are probably more vulnerable to a break. It is also possible that at some point the engineers may decide to blow a levee. And the purpose of that, or to open or to blow a spillway, and the purpose of that would be to control that a community gets flooded instead of all the communities. And that's possible. We know about it. I'm in an area which should not get flooded by any of those decisions. If the Mississippi comes out of its banks, I should not get flooded. And by flooded, I mean I'm going to have, when it rains, an afternoon rain will put 3 inches of water in my yard for hours. So we have good drainage. The water comes down, it gets deep, and drains. When I lost my car a month ago, I was sitting in it when it went underwater. I was high and dry, stopped, and the water came up in 20 minutes. I got out of the car into waist-deep water and watched the water go over my car. That was 20 minutes from 3 inches to over my car, and an hour later, the water was gone. So we have drainage in my area. So I'm not too worried about flooding of that sort. My house is about at least a foot off the ground, maybe a little more. I'm not worried about flooding like that. What concerns me more, and some people really are worried about losing their houses to flooding. What we worry about more is I live in a neighborhood with very, very old, very, very big trees. And one fell last week, not outside of a storm. I guess they had trimmed it you're supposed to trim them so they stay stable. And I guess, I don't know what happened, but the tree was massive, fell right on this house. And that was in broad daylight, sunlight, no rain or wind inside. So, wind of a hurricane, particularly the swirling wind and the rainy wind and the things getting blown in the wind into trees. Big old trees fall over in hurricanes. And so there could be some of that. Now, if a tree falls on my house, it's unlikely it's going to come very much farther down than the roof, so I would leave. So I truly am not worried about my safety. However, you never know. Property damage, possible, maybe likely, and like I said, we'll worry about that then. But there will be flooding, and nobody in this state can take 20 inches of rain right now. So if you're concerned, that's the status. From my perspective only, I am not a hydrologist. I am not an engineer. I am not a meteorologist. I am not a hurricane expert. I've been through many of these, and I've been watching this one, and that's the status of this one at this time. So that's my update. I'm not worried. I don't want you to be worried. And I hope to stay safe and warm. My cat's gonna freak out. This is her first hurricane. I got a cat. She's 5, and she doesn't even like the garbage truck going by. So I'm going to, of course, be with her and take her anywhere I go. So we'll be fine, and don't worry. Thanks.